How about that music?
Do you want it on or off?
On's fine. Yeah, I kind of like it, actually.
Okay,
I'll give you my business cards, too.
okay.
Some of you might have already had it when you had
I
your
did.
open house here. I came and stopped by then, gave out a bunch of business cards. Okay, my name is Dave Scarborough. A little bit of background on me. I've been into this kind of spiritual thing more or less back around 20 years ago or so. I was working at Ohio State, and I was more or less studying for left-brain type jobs, you know, like computer science, tech support, network and engineering and stuff like that, you know. And those kind of jobs were pretty much draining my soul, you know. Because in those kind of jobs, all you do is think about details, you know. You aren't really helping people, you aren't really doing your purpose, you know. I can't really think of anyone who their life purpose would be, you know, computer science or something like that, maybe as a stepping stone or something like that. But anyway, yeah, I felt like they weren't really helping me to grow spiritually. So once I got that thought in mind, like I really want to find myself, you know, I want to find my spiritual source. And prior to that, years prior to that, I was into the Christian thing too, you know, the born-again Christian thing. And what I found from that is that Christians can be very judgmental, you know, even with each other, they can be very judgmental. Maybe I should take that off the tape there, but yeah. But then anyway, that's what I found there. And so what really appealed to me was the kind of spirituality that says that we're all one and there are many paths to God, you know, and I started getting into that pretty deep, and then all of a sudden things started coming to me. People started coming to me who were into that kind of thing, and they would refer me to other people, and then somebody told me about gentle wind, and somebody else told me about Reiki, and then I heard they were doing Reiki at Gentle Wind, and I think that was the only metaphysical shop in Columbus at the time. That was about 20 years ago, over on the far north east side of Columbus. Let me see, so I found it there, and I got a Reiki session, and I thought, oh my God, I can feel the heat. There is something to this, you know, this is not fake. So I found a Reiki master, and I got attuned for level 1, first of all, and yeah, I kind of merged my computer knowledge with the Reiki knowledge, and I formed a Reiki class online, you know, and at that time I was probably one of the few people in the country that had an online Reiki class, because online things weren't a big thing back then, about 20 years ago, online classes and things like that. So I was probably one of the first who had an online Reiki class, and then I added Reiki level 2 and then a Reiki master class, and sold my Reiki classes for really cheap rates, you know. I was doing it for like $30 or something like that, which is outrageously cheap, you know. And I was getting students like crazy, you know, all kind of people wanted to take my Reiki class, and they were from all over the world, some of them too. They heard about it and they took my Reiki class, and then eventually I sold my classes to a site, an online a adult education site. It's called Universal Class, and my Reiki classes are still there, and still getting students, and I don't have to do the advertising anymore, because universal class one was doing the advertising for me, and then eventually I also learned tarot card reading. So I was a tarot card reader for a while also, but then I found, wow, everyone in Columbus seems to be a tarot card reader, you know, or they know how to do it, you know, and so that was rather competitive, being a tarot card reader, I thought, you know, because everyone was looking for the best tarot card readers, you know, and I was good, I think, you know, but being kind of left brain, you know, that kind of shuts off your right brain, your intuition, you know, and I've always been kind of a left brain person, but my right brain, my intuitive side, has been developing over the years also, you know. The longer I stay in this stuff, the more it grows, you know. After that, I got into sound healing. I was doing sound healing with singing bowls for a while, and that led to guided meditations. I was doing group guided meditations, and then I was doing that, and then up until the time that I retired from my real job, and then I thought, what can I do next? You know, now I've got all this time. What can I do? What does Spirit want me to do? And then I thought, hypnotherapy, you know, that's, it's kind of, it comes after guided meditations, because guided meditations and hypnotherapy are two very similar things, you know. And so one is group oriented and one is mainly one-on-one oriented, but still they're very similar things. Guided meditations and hypnotherapy. So I trained in hypnotherapy next, and then after that, it was more of a basic hypnotherapy level, you know, like helping people to stop smoking and feel good about themselves and lose weight and things like that. And then I thought, what would be good next? So I heard about past life regression classes, and I took that and had a bunch of clients with that. One thing I found though with past life regressions, doing them, is that a lot of times people can't go back into a past life until they solve the issues that they're having from their current life, and which usually go back to childhood. Many people have had a traumatic childhood, and I've had a lot of trauma in my childhood too, so I thought, this is something I need to check into. So then I heard about a form of hypnotherapy that merges teaching you how to regress people back to childhood, and they merge in a lot of counseling techniques. So you get the regression training, and you also get a lot of counseling techniques, mainly trauma counseling techniques, you know, like inner child healing and stuff like that. You know, you learn a lot of inner child healing. It was called rapid transformational therapy, kind of a British therapy method that was popular about 5-8 years ago, maybe. It still is, and it tended to be rather pricey though. They charged like $7,000 for it, so I balked at that sum, but I thought, well, you know, then this might help me also, you know. So I took the therapy and learned how to take people back to their, regress people back to their childhood and deal with their childhood traumas, deal with their issues, the root cause of the things that they're going through now, that cause all kind of limiting beliefs and stuff like that, you know. It goes back to what our parents have told us when we were children, you know. That's where the root cause of most everything that we're going through now comes from, you know, is back to childhood usually, I think, for most of us. And I found most of us have had some level of childhood trauma. For most people, it might be real mild, you know, not a lot, you know. Maybe we got put down in high school or something like that, or maybe we could sense that our parents liked our siblings better, or whatever, you know. Or some people had some real major trauma back in childhood, and I found too, quite a few people that they were constantly abused by their parents, either verbally, physically, some sexually even, so some were abused in school, you know, and maybe they had some type of learning disability or something, which held them back in school. And I was really hyperactive back in the early grades, you know, and I was constantly in trouble in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. By about the third grade, I learned to kind of make the teachers believe that I was paying attention when I really wasn't, you know. But previous to that, I was just a real hyperactive student, and got in trouble a lot. And back in those days, students, parents and teachers didn't know how to handle hyperactive students, you know. So they just thought I was a problem child. I was a problem student. So I got in trouble all the time, and got home, and I got in trouble there also, you know. So it was pretty much constant punishment until I kind of learned how to do what the adults said, and to the point of at least not getting yelled at, you know. And so anyway, so I learned that so many people have had all kind of trauma back in childhood, and came from all kind of sources. It came from school, it came from parents, it came from things that happened in high school, or maybe things in college, or and people who managed to escape the trauma from childhood. A lot of them have had trauma in adulthood, like a bad marriage or something like that, or not being able to find a job that they liked, you know, so they get stuck in the wrong job, and they just got stuck there their whole life, and they're stuck in a job that they hate their whole life, you know. So all kind of things that people go through. I kind of feel like all of us have something, you know. No one can say I've had the perfect life, you know. So since there's so many people that are hurting out there, I feel like we have to do all we can to help other people and get them through all this stuff that they're going through, help them see that they don't have to be limited by all this stuff that they went through back in the past. They can change their life through changing their attitude. They can change their life through finding their purpose, what their purpose is here in life. And I think my purpose is kind of unfolding by doing this kind of thing here that I'm doing here, you know. It certainly wasn't in any of the jobs that I had. Those were just a paycheck, you know. But I feel like I'm serving my purpose here. I'm helping people. I'm helping people grow. I'm helping people get past all the crap that they got through in their childhood, helping them find their inner strength, helping them find source, those of them that want to take it that far, you know. And so anyway, that takes me up to what I'm doing today, a combination of regression back to past life combined with regression back to childhood, because I feel that so many people, they can't really go back to a past life until they deal with that stuff that they, that trauma they experienced in childhood, you know. And currently, after that now, I've also been trained in the emotional freedom technique. That's a tapping thing, you know, where you're tapping on chakras and pressure points to resolve trauma. That's a very popular, powerful technique also. And I'm also, I just started a new technique where I'm learning how to teach people how to rewire their brain, because current neuroscience has come across some very interesting finds that the brain can rewire itself in many circumstances, you know. And what the school that I'm going through now is teaching is that by getting people to find their purpose in life, that's kind of the first step. You have to get them to find their purpose. And then the second step is live out that purpose on a continual basis, remain in your purpose for life, don't get off that, And then after you've been doing that for quite a long time, then you'll get to what neuroscience calls flow state, You get into a point where your life is just flowing, and then you get out of ego. Once you're in flow state, you don't feel the need to be in ego anymore because things are just flowing into your life. And then after you've been in flow state for a while, then the brain just tends to rewire itself, So people who have had childhood trauma, the way that their brains are wired is they're kind of wired to be in fight or flight pretty much all the time. So people who have had a lot of childhood trauma, they're wired to be in fight or flight all the time. That's one thing I learned in all the training that I took also. They could get out of that through a lot of traditional therapy, but that might take years and years. It might never happen because it just takes so long to go through traditional therapy, Or that they've come across these new findings that if you can get people into their purpose in life, and if they can live out that purpose, and if they could get in flow state and remain in flow state for a while, then the brain just naturally rewires itself. And people who have had learning disabilities or ADD or ADHD or PTSD and all those kind of traumas that cause the brain to be in a fight or flight state, the brain just rewires itself to be what it's supposed to be, and that client just gets out of fight or flight state, and it doesn't take